Cheese string? Nice.
Why don't we get to use those play blocks anymore? That's how I want to learn math.
Huh?
Don't answer that. That was a rhetorical,
I know.
sarcastic question.
I'm trying to figure out somewhere I could get unifix cubes into grade 11 pre-calculus. This university level preparatory math course. I'll try to get blocks into it as soon as I can, Bryce.
We still did the block work last year with the whatever you call it.
Surface area?
Yeah, what is that called? We have like the long block and then like the...
Yeah, algebra tiles.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, those are stupid, man. Algebra tiles never should have been made part of the curriculum. Algebra tiles should
I don't even understand what that taught me, really.
It doesn't teach you much. It's really useful, actually, for teaching you why subtracting a negative is a positive. That's the best use I know of for algebra tiles.
Oh, that's true.
Why -7 minus -7 equals 0. That it's the best way to show that I have ever found. Otherwise, I don't have a lot of use for it. Actually, that's not true. It does help also in teaching FOIL.
Oh, that's true.
If kids can't visualize first, outside, inside, last, then drawing something like this does seem to help. Because then they just have to draw the picture, right? Color, 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 positive, positive, negative, 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 cancel, cancel, x squared minus x minus 6. Done.
Yeah, I guess that works.
It does help. The problem, Bryce, is the vast majority of kids are able to do the math with the numbers. And they have trouble understanding the algebra tiles. So then they make it part of the curriculum. Then even if you can do the math, if you can't do algebra tiles, you end up with a lower grade than you would have just doing the math.
Well, it also makes sense not to have it in this class specifically, though, just because this is sort of the first math class where you're here willingly doing an advanced
Yes.
class.
Yes.
Last year was.
All right. So I am going to ask you both, not you both, duh, because there's 30 of you. I'm going to ask all of you to expand both of these. Now, based on the factoring tests I have marked up till now, the radical tests I have marked up till now, a great many of you still need practice at polynomial distribution. So distribute these, work slowly, and work correctly. If you have to, draw an arrow, write an answer. Okay? How you work it out does not matter to me, whatever you do. I personally, when I was writing these at your age, I did this. Y cubed, draw an arrow, write an answer. Plus 2y squared, draw an arrow, write an answer. Plus 4y. Then, new term, new line. minus 2y squared minus 4y minus 8. And then I collected my like terms. Y cubed, gone, minus 8. Okay, you guys do this one. This is what's important. When you've gotten to there, let's be cool.
I got my sunglasses on me.
All right. A couple of things before we go further with the lesson. You guys make sure you get that distributed correctly. All right. Factoring, we need to remember, is the reverse of distribution. All right? And we have already seen that if you don't really understand factoring, you can learn it mechanically. Yes? Because if you have x squared plus bx plus c, you know there are steps you can take to factor that, even if you don't really get it, right? You need stuff that multiplies to c and adds to b, right? We've seen that. If there's a number out in front, you've seen a way to do that. If it's x squared minus y squared, you've seen a way to do that. Well, this is just another thing here. What do you notice about this when I distribute it out? What happened to all my middle terms? They disappeared, right? They were canceled out. And what was I left with? I was left with y to the 3, which is a cube, yes? And I was left with negative 8, which is a cube, yes? Because 2 times 2 times 2, right? What happened over here? X cubed and 27, which is a cube. 3 times 3 times 3. So you should notice that if you start with 2 cubes, you end up, when you factor it, with a binomial and a trinomial. Yes? Now, if I start with a positive, a sum of cubes, which of that is I shouldn't have done this way. I'm going to do it this way. The sum of cubes. That means I end up with a positive, a negative, and a positive. So what would go in here? If it is a sum of cubes, I end up with a positive, a negative, and a positive. Because, of course, if it happens once in math, how often does it happen? Always. That's why math, even though you guys all hate it, that's why it's awesome. Because if you can manage to understand it once, it always works. Now, if I start with a negative, I end up with negative plus plus. Okay? And you can see the factoring is pretty easy, right? Whatever this first term is, right? I need to break it down into 2. So it's always going to be the cube root here, and then whatever it is squared, right? Always. It has to be. So let's see if we can work these ones out. Is this a difference or a sum of cubes? It's a difference. So I'm going to end up with, what's the cube root of the first term? 1, because 1 times 1 times 1, right? So I'm going to end up with 1 minus, what's the cube root of the second term? X, because x times x times x is not only naughty, it's also x cubed, right? Now, I'm going to need whatever will work with 1 squared to get 1. What is it? 1, again, right? Because 1 times 1 is 1. And then plus, now here's where it gets tricky. xy. What is xy? It's the coefficients from our original one, isn't it? Well, what are the coefficients here? 1 and 1. There's no coefficient, right? So it's just x. And then what? The last thing has to be x. Because x squared. Because I need a squared x times x squared to make x cubed. Now, I use this one first because for some reason, when I put the number first, people say, I can't do it. I don't know how to do that one. But it's no different, right? This just has a 1 instead of an x, and an x instead of a y. Is everybody cool? Now, remember, if you only memorize these steps, you will get a B easily. But if you want that A, you got to make sure you can apply it, because it's easy to write a question that has some trickery in it, that memorizing the steps isn't quite enough. Okay? So let's look at this one. What do I have? Is it sum or difference? Sum. So what do we open with? We open with x plus y, right? That's the cubed roots. What's the cubed root of x cubed? X plus what's the cubed root of 512? If you don't know it, where do you go to find it? Your calculator. But a lot of you have trouble getting the cube roots from your calculator. If you have a cube root button, it's easy. But a lot of you don't. If you have the fancy calculator like this, you can find the cube root. It lives in a very weird spot. It lives in the math button. See right there? Cube root. So if you have the fancy graphing calculator and you need the cube root of something, you push math, and then the number 4 will get you a cube root. See, there it is, cube root 512 equals 8. Now, I just want to take a moment to show everybody that isn't rocking one of these fancy calculators where the cube root is. You have a couple of options. If you have one of the fancy calculators, you don't have to pay any attention right now. But if you don't, you want to look for this. Look and see if your calculator has a cube root button. If it has a cube root button, then you just use it the same way you use the square root button. Okay? More likely, you're going to have a button that looks like this. X root or blank root. Not a square root. There's an actual little box written on your calculator. Does anybody have one of those two? Okay, so for you guys, if you have this, most likely you need to push the index, 3, then that button, then 512, and then you may or may not need equals. Is that how it works for you? Does that cover everybody in the room? Because there's a third kind of calculator I'm really hoping nobody has. Does this cover everyone in the room? Everybody has either a cube root button or one of these buttons? Yes? Kelvin. So why would you shake your head just to make me feel stress? Look at me, Kelvin. Do you think my heart can take stress? Do you?
I mean,
Honestly, I know it has. I actually have really low blood pressure. You'd be surprised. Not really low, but quite comfortably low. And my heart, my beats per minute are under 60, which is what it should be. It's really surprising. A lot of people are surprised by that when I tell them I actually have pretty good blood pressure because everybody thinks I'm a crazy person. And I'm not. I'm actually relaxed and even-keeled. Jung Woo has known me for like 6 weeks and she knows I'm a liar. She's already sitting back there. Okay. Think about poor Bryce. He's known me since the 9th grade. He has to sit through these lies. All right, so everyone is good? Everyone can find a cube root with their calculator should they need it? Okay, so we've covered the first one. Now, since it's a sum, it's got to be x squared because I need x times x squared, yes? And then it's going to be minus xy. What is xy? Again, if you're just memorizing steps, x, y are right here. They're the two terms in the opening binomial. Well, what are these two terms? 8 and x. So what do I write here? 8 times x. And what's the last term? 64. And it has to be positive because 8 times 64 is 512. You know that it's going to be 8 squared, don't you? Because 8 to the 1 and 8 squared would get me 8 cubed. Everybody with me? Is everybody good?
Yeah, I know what's going on.
Okay, if you can distribute and if you can follow this, you're good.
But like, okay.
Let's try the next one. Oops. Is it a sum or a difference? It's a difference. So I'm going to open with a negative, right? And the first binomial is always the cube root here, right? What is the cube root of 1? 1 minus. What is the cube root of 1,000? 10. What is the cube root of d cubed? D. Gouda? All right. There, if you're following along at home, according to our formula, there's the x and there's the y. Cool? All right. Now, the first one here is going to be whatever I need to multiply by 1 to get back to 1. So if you're thinking about it along with me, it's whatever x is squared. So here's x. What x is 1? 1 squared is? 1 squared is 1. Yes! Then, since it's adding, the next one is, or it's subtraction, the next one is plus. Now, the next thing you see in the formula is x times y. Here's x, here's y. What is x times y?
Y.
10. What? 10d. Because you got to remember the d. And then it's plus what? Y. Oops. We know it has to be y squared, which is 100d squared. Are we picking up what is being put down? Yeah? We're reading my mail. We're mowing my lawn. Okay. Is D any different? It looks different. Some of you will have the audacity to tell me that you cannot do D because it looks different.
Duty.
He said duty. As you all know, I am hoping to invent the app Call of Duty, Doodie, and it's just monkeys throwing poo at each other. And I will make millions because I know how stupid the world is. Because at one point, our world was giving the Clash of Clans people $1 million a day. Clash of Clans, at its popularity peak, was bringing in $1 million a day.
God, Flappy Bird must have drove you insane.
1,000,000. And yet, Navjot, there are hungry people in our world. But if my village is being attacked, I can darn well build a tower and get my clan to come and save me. Hopefully, I have a sub there as well, so I can eat while I save my pretend people. And if I'm really lucky, there'll be a homeless dude on the curb right in front of me that I can ignore while I save people. Oh, wait, not real people. Little pretend cartoon people. For all of you that have a very large clan in your Clash of Clans group, I appreciate that that is how you wish to spend your free time. Please continue by all means. But remember, if you ever fall on hard times, I'm busy playing Clash of Clans. So have fun with that. I'm not. All right.
You can pretty much use that argument on any hobby, though. What, you're doing something instead of helping homeless people?
No, Bryce. No. You're wrong. Because if I choose to go play hockey with my money, I am doing myself and society a favor because I am healthy. I am keeping myself healthy in our system where everybody cares for everybody else's health. Right? Plus, I'm playing with friends and I'm being actually social.
That's true. I have to pay taxes for people who use the medical system a little too much.
You have to pay taxes for people who think a greaseball burger at McDonald's is a square meal. Yes, you do. And the argument is, well, why do we allow people to smoke and drink if we have to pay for their health? We also allow you to eat Subway, which is killing you. Where do you draw the line? All right, now back to business. What is the cube root of 27y cubed? Because that's what goes first. 3y. Since it's minus, this must be minus. What's the cubed root of 125? 5. And now it's just easy, right? This has to be 9y. This has to be what? 9y squared. Yeah. This has to be what? Plus or minus? Plus 15y, because it's x times y. And then it has to be plus, and it has to be 25. Why does it have to be 25? Because it needs to be y squared, which is 5 squared, which is 25. Cool in the gang? Okay, now again, it hurts me. It hurts me so much when I get to E and people say it can't be done. Why would it hurt me? Of course it can be done. What is the first step in all factoring that I told you to do in the 10th grade? Simplify, simplify, simplify. What's coming out of there? 7. X to the 6th plus 1. Wait a minute, Mr. Myers. That's a 6. That's not a 3. Except, can you get a cubed root of x to the 6th? Cube root of x to the 6th. What does that mean? Cubed root of x cubed times x cubed, doesn't it? There's my x cubes. Out comes one of them. So can I cube root x to the 6th? So does that mean if I can cube root x to the 6th, does that mean I can do difference of cubes here? Of course it does. Just like x to the 4th minus 16 is factorable because it's got an even number. Would x to the 5th work in this formula that we are using right now? No. Why? Because it doesn't divide by 3. Would x to the 9th work? Yes. What's the next one that would work? 12. And then what? All right. So here we go. We can follow this. The 7 stays in play. The first one is what? It's the cubed root of this, yes? What is the cubed root of this? X squared. right? Because x squared times x squared times x squared is x to the 6th. It's plus, so what's this first one? Look at your formula if you don't remember. When it's x plus, what do we get? Plus what? 1. Yeah? Yeah. Then what? yx4. X squared times x to the 4th to get x to the 6th. Yes, then what? Plus. Is it plus? Minus. Minus what? X what? Squared. Then what? Plus 1. All right. You try F. Oh, what? There's 2 variables. Brain melting. I'm like the witch and Wizard of Oz.
What's the cube root of 64? Probably 4. Good thing I know my bits and my bytes. If that was anything that wasn't a multiple of 4, wouldn't know it.
Would anyone like to tell me the opening binomial?
XY plus 4.
XY plus 4. Well done, Mr. Rigdon. You must have had a really good grade 9 and 10 math teacher. He must have been not only spectacularly handsome, but also spectacularly, I wasn't going to say intelligent.
I mean, I wouldn't put Mr. Abraham on that high of a pedestal.
Competent is the word I was looking for. Anyways, thanks to Bryce not caring about my feelings. What goes here?
Facts before feelings.
X squared, y squared, because x times x gets me the x cubed, y times y squared gets me the y squared. Then what? Here's where it gets a little dodgy. Minus 4xy, because those two multiply together. Plus 16. Why is it 16? Because it has to be y squared. Y is 4, so it has to be 4 squared, so it has to be 16. Is everybody cool with differences and sums of cubes?
It's easy, but I don't remember this formula off the top of my
Okay.
head.
What if I had this? What would you do with that? Simplify how, Joel?
Take out that 2.
Take out that 2. And then that is just formula.
Oh, God.
Oh, there's a reason I put the blinds down.
I don't like this. I don't like the snow.
It's not that I don't like snow. I don't like the fact that 18-year-olds this winter are still like, oh my God, it's snowing.
17.
It doesn't matter. You've seen it. If we were in Paris and the snow was pink, which, by the way, happens in Paris, in case anybody cares. If we were in Paris for the first time and pink snow was falling, I would be more than happy to have you all go over to the window and look at, oh my God, pink snow is falling in Paris. It falls all through France because dust blows from the Sahara over the Mediterranean into the ionosphere, which then colors the snow. Yes, the things you learn in math class. There is various colors of snow due to atmospheric conditions, such as Saharan dust.
Fun fact, Paris has a hotline for Japanese people who are disappointed in Paris.
All right. You guys need to do 63, 64, what? No, I'm not going on that trip. I know my name was on it. My name was on it. But my mother-in-law last summer started forgetting words. Like, I asked her for some garlic, and she was like, what? Garlic. What? Garlic, the bulby thing in all the food we eat. I don't know what you're talking about. She asked me if she could pick something up at the store. I said, get me some chicken bouillon. She comes back with broccoli. I said, Carla, I happen to need broccoli, thank you, but where's the chicken bouillon? The what? Chicken stock mix, Carla. Chicken stock. What? So we made her go to the doctor. The doctor found a brain tumor in her head, the size of a golf ball. Brain tumor was removed, which of course led us to find that she also is riddled with melanoma throughout her body, which is surprising because she had melanoma on her back, which was removed 12 years ago, but apparently they didn't get it all. And now she has managed to somehow get melanoma, which is skin cancer, on her lungs. So as of last summer, my mother-in-law was most likely going to be dead very soon. So when it came upon time to decide if I could leave for 14 days to go to Europe in September, it seemed like a bad idea. But mother-in-law has responded very well to treatment and is alive enough that she has said, you guys go ahead somewhere. And LA is only a 2-hour flight away. And there are about 500 flights a day. I could be home here in 4 hours. From Italy, I could be home in 24 hours. And since my mother-in-law has deadbeat brothers who don't take care of business, it will fall to me to bury and take care of my mother-in-law when it is time for her to die. I am also very supportive of her decisions. If she were to choose to stop treatment, I'm the only person that's like, you go, girl. Because I don't believe in ruining 5 months of your life on a treatment to gain 2 months of your life at the end. I don't believe in that, personally. Which has led my wife to say things like, if I break my finger, she's going to come into the hospital. Pull the plug! So now I hope that this isn't sensitive for any of you. If it is, I'm not making light of the situation at all. I am not making light of the situation at all. But as you well know, one of people's number one defenses against bad situations is humor. So I choose to employ humor rather than be sad that, in any given day could be the last day I see my mother-in-law. But, all right. And it's not like the movies. I actually like my mother-in-law. I joke that I don't like my mother-in-law. And I tell people that her ringtone on my phone is the Wicked Witch of the West, which it is. And it's also the Imperial March. It alternates. So, but that's because of our good relationship that she can understand that. She's also very quick to point out that her daughter could have done better. So, she's just joking. Really? Could she have? I don't think so. Just for fun, at her 40th birthday there, she Googled or Facebooked one of her previous boyfriends, whose nickname in high school was Chunk. His Facebook name is still Chunk, and he's 40. That was the level of dating pool that my wife was swimming in high school. Yes, Chunk. Yes. It turns out she let it be known for the first time in the 25 years I've been with my wife, the first time that it wasn't until like a month into their dating that she knew Chunk's real name. She called him Chunk. Yes. So, anyways, by all means, please carry on with, what shall we say today? Oh, class is almost over. Let's go with, you do 63 and 64 tonight. Tomorrow in class we do 65, 66, and then 67 and 68 is an actual assignment. You're going to do 67 and 68 on your own, and it will be marked for marks. Because it is our third unit by now, you need to start recognizing that if it says assignment in this book, it is counting for marks. Yes. Exponents and radicals. No, because all this is old news. There's been nothing new, right? I'll do a cumulative after the factoring test because that's all of review, right? Because even this that we're doing right now isn't technically new. It's still factoring, right? It's just a new shortcut I've given you. All right, is everybody cool? So tonight is page 63 to 64. Start on it now. That's Monday. Tuesday is going to be 65 to 66. And you can start on 67 to 68 on Tuesday. And we will mark that Wednesday. I'm not going to do a factoring quiz unless you feel it would be useful for you. Because there's nothing new here, right? It's not like even exponents I gave a quiz on because there's so many different facets of exponents. But factoring is just factoring. So I don't feel we need a quiz. I feel that the assignment and the small test will be good enough. And of course, on one of these days, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll go over the test we just wrote on Thursday. Yeah? Yeah. Now, if you are following along with what I have been saying, you are aware now that factoring is the last of review. You are now equipped to start actually tackling pre-calculus 11, which begins on page 71 with everything to do with quadratic functions, which sounds sexy and difficult, but they're not.